Today, we're taking a trip back in time, all the way back to ancient Greece. But before you switch off thinking, we're going to get all philosophical and dusty and boring.
Ancient Greece.
Let me assure you, this is going to be anything but boring.
Okay.
We're going to explore those ancient Greek myths.
Right.
The ones we all know and love.
Yes.
And we're going to see how they actually hold some shockingly relevant insights into the world of cults.
That's right. You see, these myths weren't just bedtime stories for the ancient Greeks.
Right.
They were powerful tools used by philosophers, thinkers like Socrates and Plato, to explore some really profound truths about human nature and the world around us. And what's truly fascinating is how those very same myths can help us to understand the very real and very dangerous tactics that cults use today.
It's like these myths are giving us a decoder ring to understand the world around us. And once you have that decoder ring, those patterns of manipulation become impossible to ignore.
It's kind of chilling to think about how cults can take something like philosophy, which most people think of as a very noble pursuit, and just completely warp it into something they can use to manipulate and control people.
It's like they're putting mind control in a gift box, the nice bow on top. But before we get too far into that, let's back up for a sec. Remind ourselves what real philosophy is all about.
Well, I think at its core, real philosophy is about the pursuit of truth. But it's also about recognizing that nobody has a monopoly on the truth. It's about asking questions, challenging your own assumptions, and constantly refining your understanding of the world.
So it's like a journey, not a destination. You got to think critically and independently.
Exactly. True philosophy is all about empowering people to become free thinkers, capable of looking at different perspectives and coming to their own conclusions.
Okay, so that's real philosophy, the good guy in our story today. Now let's turn our attention to the villain, cult philosophy. How do they take something so pure and twist it into something so sinister?
Well, one of the most disturbing things about cult philosophy is that it replaces the open-ended search for truth. With the claim that they already have all the answers, the leader becomes the ultimate authority, and there's absolutely no room for dissent or questioning.
So they don't want you to think for yourself. They want you to stop thinking altogether.
Exactly. Imagine a world where you're not allowed to question anything. You can't express your doubts. You can't even consider alternative viewpoints. That's the kind of mental prison that cults create.
It's like they're building a wall around your mind, brick by brick. So when most people hear philosophy, they probably think about a personal motto, like, my philosophy is to live life to the fullest.
Right.
But true philosophy is something far more profound.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say?
It's light years away from a casual life motto. This is about rigorous inquiry. Think of Socrates relentlessly questioning assumptions and challenging conventional wisdom to unearth truth.
To unearth truth. It's a journey of using logic, reason, and critical thinking to understand ourselves and the world around us.
So cults are basically hijacking the word philosophy,
slapping it on their rigid doctrines to make them sound intellectual and appealing.
Precisely. They're peddling counterfeit philosophy.
A counterfeit.
A cheap knockoff that glimmels from afar but crumbles under scrutiny.
Ooh.
It's a brilliant yet insidious tactic. Cults prey on our innate desire for meaning and understanding.
Okay.
Taking this universal quest for truth and twisting it into a tool for control. It's really unsettling how cults can twist the very idea of philosophy. They use it to mask their real agenda. They dangle this idea of like intellectual exploration in front of you, but the hook is barbed with manipulation and control. The word philosophy, in its purest form comes from the Greek word philosophia. It means love of wisdom. And true philosophy, it thrives on critical thinking, questioning assumptions. That's the essence of genuine philosophical inquiry.
So it's about embracing the unknown and constantly seeking a deeper understanding, and never just settling for easy answers. But that's where cults take that dark turn, right? They offer this really seductive illusion of certainty, this idea that they hold the keys to absolute truth. But the price of admission is your freedom of thought.
Exactly. Remember, true philosophy encourages us to look inward, to examine our own beliefs and values. Cults, however, direct your attention outward towards the leader and their truth. True leadership is about serving others, not exploiting them for personal gain.
It's like joining a club where you have to surrender your individuality at the door.
Exactly.
Before we get into the specifics of how they distort philosophy, let's make sure everyone's on board.
Okay.
If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on Cult Report to support the show and stay informed about the dangers lurking beneath the surface.
Good advice.
So how do we separate the real deal, the true pursuit of wisdom, from the counterfeit philosophy peddled by cults? Where do we even begin to unravel this tangled web?
Well, I think the key is to understand the fundamental difference in their DNA.
Okay.
Real philosophy, the kind that's been around for centuries, is all about the love of wisdom, the relentless pursuit of knowledge, where you're encouraged to chart your own course, to use your own judgment, to arrive at your own conclusions.
So it's not about blindly accepting a set of prepackaged answers.
Right.
It's about honing the tools to think for yourself.
Precisely. Think of it like learning to navigate by the stars.
Okay.
True philosophy equips you with the knowledge and skills to read the celestial map, to understand the principles of navigation, but ultimately you're the captain of your ship. You decide where you want to go, what course to chart, what risks to take.
Cults take a completely different approach, don't they?
Right.
They present themselves as having all the answers.
Yes.
The one true map to navigate life's complexity.
And cults thrive on the illusion of certainty.
Okay.
They offer a predetermined destination, a rigid set of rules to follow. And any deviation from their prescribed course is met with disapproval, punishment, or even expulsion.
Wow.
They want you to surrender your compass, your autonomy, your very ability to think critically.
This is where it gets really chilling, isn't it? This is how that feeling of a trap closing in starts to take hold. You're no longer exploring, you're being confined.
I think it's fascinating how the word philosophy itself becomes a weapon in the hands of cults.
Right.
It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Oh, wow.
They dangle it in front of you, promising wisdom, understanding, and deeper meaning to life. But what they're really offering is a cage disguised as a sanctuary.
It's like they're offering a poisoned apple disguised as a delicious treat.
Right.
And sadly, so many unsuspecting individuals take a bite. If you're finding this as creepy as I am, don't forget to subscribe to Cult Report. For more insights into how these groups operate, this information could literally help you or someone you know from falling into one of these traps. Okay, so we've talked about the big picture differences between real philosophy and cult philosophy, but let's break it down point by point, side by side, so we can really see how these two approaches to truth and belief stack up against each other. What's our first category?
I think the most fundamental difference is the pursuit of truth versus the claim to certainty. Real philosophy is a dynamic process. It's about questioning, exploring, refining our understanding of the world. It recognizes that truth is complex and multifaceted. But cult philosophy claims to have a monopoly on the truth.
It's like they're saying, we have all the answers. End of story. No need for further investigation. No room for doubt.
And that is incredibly dangerous because it creates this rigid worldview that can't adapt to new information or changing circumstances. It shuts down intellectual growth and critical thinking.
So real philosophy is like an open road, full of possibilities and discoveries, while cult philosophy is like a dead end, a cul-de-sac of dogma and blind obedience. If you're as intrigued by this comparison as I am, stick with us. We're about to dive even deeper into the distinctions between these two opposing worldviews. Don't miss it. Ready to continue our philosophical showdown? Remember, we're comparing real philosophy, the champion of truth, freedom, and growth, against its shadowy opponent, cult philosophy, armed with dogma control and those tempting but ultimately empty promises. So let's see how these two contenders measure up in our next category.
All right, so next up we have freedom versus conformity. True philosophy thrives on individual reasoning and autonomy. It encourages us to think for ourselves, to question authority, and come to our own conclusions. But cult philosophy demands conformity.
Yeah, you gotta follow the line. March to the beat of the leader's drum. No deviation from the dogma. No questioning the grand plan. It's like joining a synchronized swimming team, where everyone has to make the exact same movements, even if it means holding your breath until you turn blue.
That's a pretty vivid image, and it really highlights how cults stifle individuality and critical thinking. They create an environment where everyone's expected to think and act alike. Imagine the chilling effect that has on a person's ability to think for themselves.
So point goes to real philosophy, or encouraging independent thought. What's our next category in this battle of beliefs?
Next, we have questioning versus submission. True philosophy embraces doubt, encourages us to challenge assumptions. It's all about asking why and digging deeper to uncover the truth. But cult philosophy demands unquestioning submission and obedience.
Oh yeah, try questioning a cult leader and see how far that gets you. They don't exactly welcome critical thinking or dissenting opinions.
Not at all. They create a culture of fear and intimidation, where followers are afraid to speak up or express any doubts, and that makes it even easier for them to maintain control.
It's like the difference between a vibrant open forum where everyone's voice can be heard, and a totalitarian regime, where any dissent is swiftly silenced. Point goes to real philosophy again, for encouraging open inquiry. What's next on our list?
Okay, let's talk about growth versus stagnation. True philosophy is all about personal and intellectual growth. It encourages us to constantly learn new things, expand our perspectives, and evolve as individuals. But cult philosophy clings to these rigid doctrines that resist any kind of change or evolution.
It's like the difference between a flourishing garden that's constantly growing and evolving with new plants and flowers, and a sealed-off biodome, where everything is artificial and unchanging.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. True philosophy is a journey of lifelong learning and discovery, while cult philosophy is like a dead end, a stagnant pool of unchanging dogma.
Growth definitely wins this round.
Yeah.
What's our final category in this epic showdown of ideas?
All right, our final category is ethical exploration versus moral absolutism. True philosophy encourages us to develop our own sense of ethics, to examine our values, consider different perspectives, and arrive at our own moral compass. But cult philosophy imposes this rigid black and white moral code, usually dictated by the whims of the leader.
It's like the difference between navigating by the stars, using your knowledge and intuition to chart your course, versus being handed a pre-programmed GPS. That dictates every single turn. Cults don't want you to think for yourself. They want you to follow their predetermined route, no matter where it leads.
Exactly, and that can lead to all sorts of ethical dilemmas, as followers are pressured to conform to the cult's moral code, even if it goes against their own conscience.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've weighed the evidence, examined the arguments, and I think the winner is clear. Real philosophy triumphs over cult philosophy by a landslide. It's about seeking truth, embracing freedom, promoting growth, encouraging questioning, and fostering ethical exploration. Cult philosophy, on the other hand, is all about control, dogma, keeping followers trapped in a mental labyrinth.
So listeners, remember these key differences. Be wary of any group that claims to have all the answers, demands unquestioning obedience, or tries to discourage you from thinking for yourself. Those are major red flags.
Before we get lost in the labyrinth of myths,
Right.
let's make sure we've covered the key takeaways from this segment.
Okay.
Cults don't just have a philosophy.
No.
They warp the very essence of philosophical inquiry into a weapon of control.
Exactly.
They're linguistic contortionists, twisting words and creating their own twisted lexicons to isolate and manipulate their followers.
And the scariest part is that it all starts so subtly.
Yeah,
They dangle alluring promises, whisper seductive words, and before you know it, you're ensnared in their web.
if you're finding this deep dive as fascinating as I am, make sure to hit that subscribe button on Cult Report for more insightful episodes like this one.
Absolutely.
Now, are you ready to explore the dark side of Greek myths?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
These myths are like psychological blueprints, revealing timeless patterns of human behavior and the dangers of unchecked power. They provide a framework for understanding how cults operate and the traps they set for the unsuspecting.
Like psychological x-rays, revealing the dark underbelly of human nature.
They're not just dusty old stories, they're psychological roadmaps, warnings about the dangers of unchecked power and the allure of false prophets.
I've always loved Greek mythology, but I never thought about it in this context. It's like the ancient Greeks were onto these cult tactics thousands of years ago, and we're going to explore these myths in depth. But first, a quick reminder to like and subscribe to the Cult Report channel for more fascinating and empowering deep dives. Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Give me an example. Which myth exposes the dark side of cult promises?
Let's start with the myth of Icarus. Remember him, the guy who flew too close to the sun, with wings made of wax and feathers, ignoring his father's warning.
Oh yeah, classic tale of youthful arrogance. He totally crashed and burned.
But it's more than just a story about disobedience. The Greeks used this myth to explore the dangers of hubris, of overreaching ambition and ignoring wisdom. Icarus's desire for freedom was understandable, but it needed to be tempered with caution and grounded in reality.
So how does this myth apply to the world of cults? Help us connect those dots.
Well, think about it. Cults often lure people in with the promise of something extraordinary, something that makes you feel like you're soaring above the ordinary world. They might offer you secret knowledge, special powers, even a shortcut to enlightenment.
Wow.
It's like they're giving you a set of wings just like Icarus, but here's the catch. Those wings are made of flimsy, deceptive material.
Oh, right.
They're false promises designed to make you feel elevated, powerful, but in reality, they're going to lead to a crash.
Wow. Those are some seriously powerful false wings you're talking about.
They are.
It's like they're offering this tempting escape from reality, but ultimately it's an illusion that can be incredibly dangerous.
Exactly. And just like Icarus ignored his father's warning, cult members often disregard the concerns of friends and family who try to pull them back from the edge.
It's true.
They become so fixated on that promised flight that they fail to see the danger until it's too late. And that's one of the most heartbreaking aspects of cults.
Yeah.
They prey on people's hopes and dreams, twisting them into tools of manipulation and control.
And I bet this control, it extends to how they manipulate everyday language too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Think about how often you hear people say things like, my philosophy is to always be kind, or my philosophy is to work hard and play hard. Those aren't really deeply considered philosophical stances. They're more like personal values or preferences.
Right. It's like using philosophy as a synonym for just your general outlook on life. But cults, they exploit this casual use of the word to make their rigid doctrines seem less threatening. They package their dogma as a philosophy to give it an air of intellectualism, make it seem more respectable.
Exactly. They know how powerful language can be. By appropriating the term philosophy, they're trying to disarm potential critics. They're trying to make their controlling ideology seem more palatable. It's a brilliant tactic, really sinister, and unfortunately, it often works.
It's scary how they can twist something as basic as language to serve their own manipulative ends. That's why it's so important for everyone listening to understand the difference between authentic philosophical inquiry and the kind of deceptive philosophy that cults peddle. Before we dive deeper into this linguistic manipulation, I want to remind everyone to hit that like button and subscribe to Cult Report. We're about to expose the tricks cults use to control minds, so stay tuned. How do they twist words, those seemingly innocent building blocks of communication, into tools of control?
Think of it like this: you're given this beautiful antique map, promising to lead you to a hidden treasure. But what you don't realize is that the cartographer has subtly altered the landmarks. The scales, even the compass rose.
Oh, wow.
You think you're navigating towards freedom, towards enlightenment.
Right.
But in reality, you're being steered deeper and deeper into the heart of their territory.
That's a brilliant analogy. So how do we learn to recognize these distorted maps? What are some of the telltale signs that language is being weaponized?
One of the most common tactics is what we call loaded language.
Okay.
It's about taking words that have positive connotations in a general context. Words like love, freedom, truth, enlightenment, and twisting them to fit the cult's narrow definition.
Can you give us some concrete examples of how this works? I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear how these seemingly innocent words can be turned into instruments of control.
Absolutely. Let's take the word love, for instance.
Okay.
In a healthy relationship, love is about mutual respect, care, and freedom to be yourself.
Right.
But in a cult, love might be weaponized to enforce obedience and compliance.
Okay.
If you truly loved the leader, you would never question their teachings.
Wow.
Or if you truly loved the group, you would sacrifice everything for its cause.
Right.
Suddenly, love becomes a tool for manipulation, a way to guilt and pressure members into conforming.
It's like they're holding love hostage.
Right.
Using it as a bargaining chip to extract loyalty and submission.
Exactly. Another word that often gets hijacked is freedom. In the outside world, freedom usually means having the autonomy to make your own choices, to chart your own course in life. But in a cult, freedom might be redefined as complete surrender to the group's ideology.
Okay.
You're told that true freedom comes from relinquishing your individual will, from embracing the collective consciousness, from becoming one with the group's purpose.
That's so insidious. It's like saying, we'll set you free by locking you in this cage of our beliefs.
Precisely. And the scariest part is that these twisted definitions can be incredibly seductive, especially for people who are searching for meaning or a sense of belonging.
Right.
Remember, cults often target individuals who are at a vulnerable point in their lives, who are feeling lost, disillusioned, or desperate for answers. They offer a seemingly simple solution to life's complexities.
Right.
A pre-packaged path to happiness and fulfillment. And all you have to do is surrender your critical thinking, your autonomy, and your very language to their control. It's like they're building a linguistic prison using words as bars to trap their followers. They talk about enlightenment and community, but within the cult's twisted reality, those words mean blind obedience and unquestioning loyalty.
So it's not just the words themselves, but the context, the underlying meaning that's been warped to serve the cult's agenda.
Precisely. They hijack positive concepts, things we all value, and twist them into tools of manipulation. They might preach about freedom, but it's a freedom that only exists within the confines of the cult's ideology. Step outside those boundaries, and the consequences can be severe.
This is mind-blowing. It's like they're creating their own dictionary, where words have completely different definitions than in the outside world.
Exactly, and that's why it's crucial to develop a keen sense of discernment, to question what you hear, and to be wary of groups that try to control your language and thinking.
That's a powerful thought. And speaking of powerful thoughts, if you're finding this deep dive as insightful as we are, hit that share button and subscribe to Cult Report for more. We're unraveling the mysteries of manipulation one word at a time. So give us some examples. What kinds of words or phrases should set off alarm bells?
One common tactic is the use of us versus them language. Cults often create a sense of exclusivity, emphasizing that they have special knowledge or insights that the rest of the world doesn't understand or rejects. This creates a powerful sense of belonging for members, but it also isolates them from anyone who questions the group's beliefs.
It's like they're drawing a line in the sand saying, you're either with us or against us.
Exactly. And anyone who falls into the them category is automatically seen as an enemy, a threat to the group's integrity.
That's a powerful way to control people's loyalties and shut down critical thinking.
Another tactic to watch out for is the use of thought-stopping cliches. These are simplistic phrases or slogans that discourage independent thinking and shut down any questioning of the group's doctrines.
Can you give us an example of a thought-stopping cliche?
Imagine someone raises a concern about the cult's teachings. A leader might respond with something like, "Doubt is just the devil trying to lead you astray," or "True faith means never questioning." These kinds of pronouncements shut down critical thinking and reinforce the idea that blind obedience is the only acceptable response.
It's like they're giving you a mental shortcut, a pre-programmed response to any doubts or questions that might arise.
Exactly. And over time, these thought-stopping cliches can become so ingrained that followers lose the ability to think critically or independently evaluate information.
This is seriously scary stuff. It's like they're reprogramming people's minds to accept their ideology without question.
That's why it's so important to be aware of these tactics and to cultivate a healthy skepticism towards any group that claims to have all the answers.
This is mind-blowing stuff.
It is.
And if you're finding this as fascinating as we are, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Cult Report for more deep dives into the world of cults and manipulation.
Absolutely.
We're here to empower you.
Yeah.
To give you the tools to recognize and resist these manipulative tactics.
Knowledge is power. And understanding how cults twist language and manipulate beliefs is the first step to protecting ourselves and others from falling prey to their dangerous ideologies. Now let's shift our focus to another myth that reveals a particularly insidious tactic cults use. The myth of Tantalus.
Tantalus, the guy who is eternally punished by the gods to reach for fruit and water that always remain just out of reach.
It's a powerful illustration of the tantalizing, yet ultimately unattainable, promises that cults often dangle in front of their followers.
It's like they offer this glimpse of something amazing, enlightenment, spiritual fulfillment, even eternal life. But they always keep it just beyond your grasp.
Cults thrive on keeping their followers in the state of perpetual longing, always striving for something that's always just out of reach. This keeps them hooked on the cult's narrative and dependent on the leader for guidance.
It's like they're dangling this ultimate carrot. Enlightenment, special knowledge, maybe even immortality. But that carrot is attached to a stick, and that stick just keeps getting longer. The followers keep striving, keep sacrificing, but they never actually reach the promised reward.
Exactly. And that's how the cult leader maintains control, by keeping the followers in a state of perpetual longing. They're always chasing that elusive prize, never questioning why they haven't reached it yet.
It's like a treadmill to nowhere. You're exhausting yourself for a destination that doesn't even exist.
And that's by design. This perpetual state of striving makes followers dependent on the cult, always hoping that the next step, the next ritual, the next donation will bring them closer to that elusive prize.
It's a vicious cycle of manipulation and unfulfilled longing. It makes you realize how important it is to recognize when our desires for fulfillment are being exploited, to question the motives of those who claim to hold the keys to our happiness.
Exactly. And that's why we're here at Cult Report, helping you develop that critical lens. And remember, knowledge is power. So hit that subscribe button to stay informed and empowered.
This is making me think of those multi-level marketing schemes or those self-help gurus who are always promising you the secret to wealth and happiness.
Right.
But it always seems to be just one more purchase or one more seminar away.
That's a perfect example. And the tragic thing is, just like Tantalus was eternally punished, Many cult followers end up sacrificing years of their lives chasing these empty promises. They become so fixated on reaching that next level or attaining that secret knowledge that they lose sight of the real world and the things that truly matter.
It's heartbreaking to think about the wasted potential and the lost connections.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to another myth that provides a chilling glimpse into the manipulative tactics of cults. This is the story of Narcissus.
Ugh. Narcissus, the man so enamored by his own reflection that he couldn't tear himself away, eventually wasting away and dying. The Greeks used this myth to warn against self-obsession, the danger of losing yourself in these illusions. Now let's shift our focus to certain cult leaders. Do you see a connection?
You mean the ones who build their entire persona around their image, craving that adoration and obedience?
Precisely. In cults, the leader often becomes the sun, and the followers, like planets, are expected to just revolve around them. Their teachings, their persona, their wisdom, it all becomes the sole source of truth for their followers. Critical thinking is discouraged, and questioning the leader's authority is seen as a betrayal.
It's a recipe for disaster. When you have a leader who is more interested in their own ego than in the well-being of their followers, the potential for abuse and manipulation becomes immense.
Up next, we'll delve into the myth of Theseus and the Labyrinth, exploring how this seemingly ancient tale holds profound lessons about the mental traps cults create, and most importantly, how to escape them. Stay with us.
Wow, we've journeyed through the myths of Icarus, Narcissus, and Tantalus. And it's been a bit of a dark descent, hasn't it? It's chilling to see how these ancient tales mirror the manipulative tactics cults use today, but there's a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness, and that's what we're going to explore now.
You're absolutely right. While these myths expose the vulnerabilities of the human psyche, they also offer a path forward, a way to navigate the labyrinth of manipulation.
And speaking of labyrinths, that brings us to the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. It always felt like such a terrifying story to me. But maybe there's more to it than meets the eye.
Right, the labyrinth itself. It's a powerful metaphor for the intricate mental traps that cults create. They weave this web of convoluted beliefs and distorted realities, making it incredibly difficult for followers to find their way out.
It's like the classic trap. Make escape seem impossible, and the prisoner won't even try. Like being lost in a maze with no clear path, constantly running into dead ends and facing terrifying monsters.
Exactly. And the Minotaur, this monstrous creature lurking at the center, represents the fear and confusion that keeps people trapped. It's the fear of leaving the perceived safety of the group, the fear of facing the outside world alone.
Yeah, but Theseus found a way out, right? He didn't succumb to the fear.
Exactly. And that's the key takeaway here. Even in the face of overwhelming fear and confusion, there's always hope, always a way to break free. Theseus used Ariadne's thread, a symbol of guidance and support, to navigate the labyrinth and defeat the Minotaur.
That's such a powerful image. The thread representing the help we can find from others when we feel lost and trapped.
Right. It reminds us that we don't have to face these challenges alone. There are people who can help us find our way back to clarity and freedom. Friends, family, therapists, even former cult members who understand the intricate workings of these manipulative systems.
I'm on the edge of my seat. This is starting to feel like one of those edge-of-your-seat thriller movies, where the hero is trapped in a maze and has to find a way out before it's too late.
That's a great analogy.
So the myth of Theseus becomes a testament to the human capacity to overcome even the most daunting challenges.
Precisely. We have the innate ability to question, to challenge, to seek truth. And the more we understand the tactics used by cults, the better equipped we are to resist their influence.
By learning to spot the patterns of manipulation, we can break free from those mental labyrinths and reclaim our autonomy.
And remember, just like Theseus had Ariadne's thread to guide him, you have resources like Cult Report to help you navigate these treacherous waters.
And on that note, folks, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We're committed to empowering you with the knowledge and tools you need to stay informed and protect yourself and your loved ones from the dangers of cults. But here's something I've been wondering about.
Okay.
Do cults specifically target vulnerable people?
Right?
Or can anyone fall prey to these tactics?
That's a great question. And the answer is, while some individuals might be more susceptible due to personal circumstances or psychological factors, cults don't just prey on the weak or naive.
Right.
They exploit a very human desire for certainty and belonging, a need to feel like we have a purpose and a place in the world.
It's true.
And in a world that can feel increasingly chaotic and complex, those desires can be incredibly powerful.
Right. Cults offer this simplified worldview, a sense of order and purpose in a world that often feels overwhelming. They tell you, we have the answers, follow us, and all your problems will be solved. It's a seductive trap, especially for people who are searching for meaning or struggling to make sense of their lives.
You've hit the nail on the head. Cults offer this illusion of control.
Yes.
This feeling that you're part of something bigger than yourself, something special and exclusive. But that feeling of belonging comes at a steep price.
And that price is often your freedom,
Yes.
your individuality, your critical thinking skills, and even your connections to the outside world.
No.
It's like trading your real wing for a set of flimsy imitations, only to realize far too late that you've lost the ability to fly on your own.
Precisely. We've exposed some of the darker tactics these groups use, but there's one more crucial piece we need to examine the power of myths.
Okay, so we're not talking about ancient Greece anymore.
Not exactly. We're going to explore how cults create their own myths, their own narratives to solidify control and keep members entranced.
So it's like they're building their own fictional universe, a reality where the leader is the hero, the dogma is the gospel, and anyone who questions it is the villain.
Precisely. They might weave tales of the leader's extraordinary origins, claiming they're a descendant of a god, a reincarnated prophet, or even an alien sent to save humanity. These narratives, however outlandish, serve to elevate the leader to a mythical status, making them seem larger than life beyond reproach.
It's like they're writing their own superhero comic, casting themselves as the all-powerful protagonist.
And they often create myths about the group's destiny, claiming they're the chosen ones destined to usher in a new era of enlightenment or survive an impending apocalypse. These grand narratives provide a sense of purpose and urgency, fueling the members' devotion and justifying their sacrifices.
So it's not just about controlling their minds in the present, it's about shaping their perception of the past and their hopes for the future. It's a complete rewrite of reality. Now let's talk about the real-world impact of cults on individuals and families. Because this isn't just an intellectual exercise, right?
It's not.
Cults have devastating consequences.
Yeah, they do.
That can ripple outward for generations.
You're absolutely right. People lose their savings, their careers, their relationships, sometimes even their lives.
It's terrible.
And the damage goes far beyond the individual.
Yeah, it's like a bomb going off in the middle of someone's life.
Yes.
And the shrapnel hits everyone around them.
That's a good analogy.
So what kind of damage are we talking about?
There's the psychological trauma of being manipulated and controlled, the loss of identity and autonomy, the breakdown of trust and healthy boundaries.
Right.
It can take years to recover from that kind of abuse.
And then there's this social isolation that many cult members experience. They're often cut off from their support systems, their families, their friends, because the trauma runs deep.
Yes.
It can take a long time to rebuild trust, to reclaim one's sense of self.
And the families of cult members suffer too.
Of course.
The pain of watching a loved one become indoctrinated, seeing their personality change, their relationships crumble, their lives fall apart. It's heartbreaking.
And there's often a lot of guilt involved. Family members wonder what they could have done differently if they could have somehow prevented it.
It's important to remember that cults are incredibly skilled at manipulation. Even the most intelligent, independent-loving people can fall prey to their tactics.
So blaming yourself or the victim only adds to the pain and suffering.
That's right.
It's not about fault. It's about understanding how these groups operate. So let's talk about that. What advice would you give to someone who's concerned about a loved one's involvement in a potentially harmful group? What can they do to help?
First, stay calm and avoid confrontation. Accusing someone of being in a cult or trying to force them out is likely to backfire.
Yeah, it's like pushing a button that triggers their defenses.
Exactly.
It's going to make them dig in their heels and resist even more.
The best approach is to focus on building and maintaining a strong, supportive relationship.
It's about being a safe haven, a source of unconditional love and acceptance, even when you disagree with their choices.
Right. Let them know that you're there for them no matter what. Express your concerns gently using I statements rather than accusations.
Like, I'm worried about some of the things I've heard about this group, or I've noticed some changes in you that concern me.
Exactly, and be patient. It takes time to deprogram someone from a cult's ideology, especially if they're deeply entrenched.
It's not about winning an argument or proving them wrong. It's about planting seeds of doubt, about gently nudging them towards critical thinking.
Right. Encourage them to ask questions, to seek out different perspectives, to consider the potential risks involved.
And if they're open to it, offer them resources and support.
Yeah.
There are organizations and therapists who specialize in cult recovery
Yes.
who can provide guidance and counseling.
And there are online forums and support groups where former cult members share their experiences and offer advice.
So there is help available. It's not a hopeless situation.
No, not at all. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. And with patience, love, and support, it's possible to help a loved one find their way back to themselves.
That's a powerful message of hope. And speaking of hope, if you're finding this deep dive into the psychology of control as empowering as we are, hit that like button and subscribe to Cult Report for more. We're exploring the shadowy realms of manipulation, shining a light on the hidden dangers, and equipping you with the knowledge and tools to protect yourself and those you love.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we have.
From the myths of ancient Greece to the very real dangers of cults in the modern world.
Right.
The key takeaway is this knowledge is power.
Okay.
The more you understand about the tactics of manipulation, the better equipped you'll be to recognize them and protect yourself.
So instead of seeking those easy answers, instead of surrendering our autonomy to a charismatic leader,
Yes.
we need to embrace the process of seeking truth for ourselves. We need to be willing to ask those tough questions, to consider different perspectives, and to even embrace a bit of uncertainty.
Exactly. It's about choosing the path of Daedalus, taking those calculated risks, staying grounded in reality, and using our knowledge to navigate the world wisely.
Right. We don't have to be Icarus blindly following a path that leads to destruction. We could be Theseus using our critical thinking skills as our Ariadne's thread to guide us out of the mental labyrinths that cults create. And remember, we don't have to go through this alone. We have each other.
That's right. Connect with people outside of the group, talk to friends and family, and build a support system that values your autonomy and critical thinking. And if you're looking for a community of like-minded individuals who are passionate about understanding cults and manipulation, you've come to the right place.
Join us here at Cult Report, and let's continue this conversation together. We're here to support you on your journey of seeking truth, understanding influence, and ultimately empowering yourself to live a life free from manipulation.
And remember, the more we understand about how cults operate, the better equipped we'll be to resist their influence and protect ourselves and others from falling prey to their deceptive tactics.
It's been a wild ride exploring the connection between ancient Greek myths and the world of cults.
It's amazing how these stories, passed down for centuries, can provide such valuable insights into human behavior and manipulation.
So if we had to distill it all down, what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing we want them to remember from this deep dive?
It's simple. Cultivate your inner compass, develop your ability to think critically, to question assumptions, and to trust your gut instincts. Don't be swayed by charismatic figures or groups claiming to have all the answers.
Because there's no shortcut to truth or enlightenment, is that what you're saying? It takes work. It takes that self-awareness, the ability to discern right from wrong, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Exactly. Remember, the ancient Greeks valued questioning and debate. They saw philosophy as a dynamic process, not blind acceptance. Embrace that same spirit of inquiry.
If you're finding this content valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us to reach a wider audience
It does.
and empower more people to resist manipulation.
Absolutely.
The pursuit of wisdom is a lifelong adventure full of twists and turns. But with courage, resilience, and a little help from those who've navigated the path before us, we can all find our way out of the darkness and into the light.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, true wisdom guides. It doesn't bind. So keep questioning. Keep your mind open to new possibilities.
We hope you found this valuable, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future deep dives into the world of cults and manipulation. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay free.